Sneakers and Cleats.
I don't play for money.
I don't play for money. That was that Dak?
That was Dak. I just hit my button real quick. Anyway, welcome to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. This is Thursday, January 16th, episode 164. Zach Hedrick filling in for the injured, I guess, down and out.
Chuck is down with the sickness.
Yeah, he
to
is.
stay in the
just keep playing that now.
Metal vein that he likes to go
I don't play for money.
Why does this keep playing? I don't know. We're gonna hear from Dak apparently today.
You need to work that into the open.
Here we go.
That was kind of a nice little remix.
Yeah, I'm gonna start playing the chimes. I have a lot on here. Get to some Bob Uecker a little later. I don't know why that keeps playing, but anyway, yeah, Chuck is sick. My wife is sick. Half the people at the station are sick. So we're all
walking around like this.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna do this thing. Don is not sick. He's just in the other room doing other stuff. So anyway, we got a lot to talk about. Mike McCarthy out as the head coach, as we talked about on Monday. Deion Sanders in, maybe. You never know.
It could happen.
Micah Parsons talking about his head coach's exit on the Edge podcast. So we'll get into that a little bit. Who else is being considered as the Cowboys head coach? Plus, the Spurs lost their fourth game out of the last 5 on a little bit of a skid here as they lost last night to the Grizzlies. So we'll talk about what could be in store for the Spurs, how they might get back to 500. They play the Grizzlies again, then the Heat, then they're going to France. So what could they do possibly to get back to 500? And with the deadline approaching, what moves could they end up making there? So we'll go no trivia. Zach, how's everything been going? You haven't been on a little while.
Good. Yeah, no, good, man. We're just rocking and rolling, starting a new year.
Yeah, high school football took a lot out of us, I know. So we
great season, though. I mean, gosh, state champions for Smithson Valley. They're getting their ring size. That was earlier this morning today. So, and then so that was fun. You know, and just what a season for Coach Hill. It's not fun to see. And of course, in true Larry Hill fashion, he's just like, yeah, 2025, we've already kicked that team off. So, you know, we're starting to get that, ball rolling a little bit downhill. And it's just like, man, it never stops. Football season.
He's always thinking about the next phase, man. All right, well, let's get to some Deion stuff. So Cowboys and Coach Prime linked after it was leaked on Monday. Let's go through the whole timeline here just to make sure everyone's caught up. So ESPN and Fox Sports reporting Jerry Jones, Deion Sanders spoke on Monday about the possibility of Coach Prime coming in as the head coach. There was no official offer or even an interview expected to keep that dialogue going. And then Adam Schefter getting this quote from Deion Sanders saying, quote, "To hear from Jerry Jones is truly delightful and it's intriguing. I love Jerry. I believe in Jerry. After you hang up and process it and think about it, it's intriguing. But I love Boulder and everything there is about our team, the coaches, our student body, and the community." Now, today, reports surfacing that Coach Prime, quote, "would almost certainly accept an offer from Jerry Jones to be the next head coach of the Cowboys if he got one." That from WFAA's Ed Werder. So where there's smoke, there's fire, I guess, my friend.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think it's kind of like yes, it's a true legit candidate, and then also no at the same time, because we all know Jerry loves a shiny object. But NFL also having this Rooney Rule and stuff like that, maybe it's kind of like, hey, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours a little bit. Deion hopefully maybe trying to get an extension, a little boost in Colorado, I guess, maybe from the administration there. So it's just like, hey, if you're seriously considering about making the jump to the NFL, well, what do we have to do to keep you in Boulder? And all right, whatever that figure is, yep, we've got it, and there it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was also a quote today of Deion saying, if I want an extension, I'll get an extension. Like, he's Coach Priming it up, of course.
Right.
But leverage doesn't hurt.
And he'll
especially
get it.
Leverage from the Cowboys.
He will get it. Yeah.
I mean, there's been no interviews or anything. This is just, it's so Cowboys, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's so Dallas to go after the hot Coach Prime candidate, someone who's beloved by the Dallas fan base, someone who's beloved by a lot of people around the nation, has done a good job in Colorado, took them from the cellar to almost the mountaintop, but they couldn't get past ASU and BYU, to say. He's done a good job. I mean, obviously they got exposed against BYU in the Alamo Bowl, but you see the circus that comes along with Deion. You see the
crazy amounts of
three
media.
Security guards around him just at the Alamo Bowl. Him taking a separate, not even a limo, a separate unit from his team to go up to UTSA to practice for the Alamo Bowl. You see how busy the Alamo Bowl was. It was 4 times as busy this year than it was last year, just because of Deion and the primetime aspect of it. I don't know how that would go in Dallas, especially with Jerry.
Well, so play that out. Jerry marches to the beat of his own drum.
Right.
Deion, very much the same. So if those two got into a tiff, I can just see Deion being like, all right, well, screw you, old man. Guess what? We're not having practice today or the next day or whatever. And then here we go. Let the circus begin. I'm sure there's probably rules against that in the NFL, but even then, I can see Deion just trying to push back a little bit because, we've all seen it with Wade Phillips, Jason Garrett. Jerry Jones kind of, cuts the legs out from his head coaches because, well, we should do this and that and whatever. And I don't know. I think, and this isn't, a new take or anything like that, but Deion, I think his approach works better in college. I think. I don't know if necessarily, sure, what player wouldn't want to learn from a Hall of Famer, but.
Well, you see what comes along with him, and it's like even in the Alamo Bowl post-game press conferences, you had Terrell Owens behind him talking while he was talking in the locker room. Like, you have everyone that is alongside Deion in the primetime aspect. I just don't know how that would translate to the NFL, and I didn't really know how it would translate to college either. Obviously, he had success with Jackson State, and he had success in Boulder so far, but it's been 2 years, and everything that comes along with them is just all the media scrutiny and everything like that. It's almost like two force multipliers. If he was to go to, I know, see, everyone's coming down with something. If he was to go to Dallas, it's like the two biggest media icons being together.
Right.
And so I don't know. There's been a lot of talk of Jerry needing his yes man, Jerry needing his person that he can, puppeteer around. Right. So that's where the Kellen Moores of the world come in. Can he do that with Deion? I would venture to say no.
Yeah, I don't think he could. And that's why it's going to be someone like maybe a Kellen Moore, somebody that they know. They like to, stay within the family a little bit. I mean, you look at Jason Garrett, it's like, this is a guy who quarterback for the Cowboys at one point. Yeah. So, and he made a point too, after, the season ender against Washington. Look, I want a head coach that is going to work with the pieces that we have. And the big cornerstone, of course, is Dak Prescott, who you're linked to for the next 4 years, whether you like it or not, given that big record setting salary that they gave him, at the beginning of this season. So why not Kellen Moore again? You see how it works for 2 years, and then maybe they cut ties with him after it doesn't work out.
He's also, he hasn't been one to fire head coaches after 2 years. I think even Chan Gailey's the shortest tenured coach. I think he just went 2. But I see Deion more as like a Jimmy Johnson kind of personality, someone who is going to put up a fight against Jerry.
Yeah.
And Jerry now obviously has that cachet that he didn't have when Jimmy Johnson was there. Obviously, he's won 3 championships as the owner and GM of this franchise. But I just think like someone as headstrong as Jimmy, and obviously it led to a lot of success back in the 90s. Would that work now? Would that work for an 82-year-old GM and a 60-some-odd-year-old Stephen Jones? Is that the direction they want to go down? I don't know. Yeah. So it at least gives us a lot of things to talk about.
Oh, it's great to talk about the offseason, spitballing of who's going to be next. They're bringing in Saleh in this weekend.
Yeah.
And I think I even saw today, it's like, I don't know how that's possible, but Kellen Moore has an interview at some point.
Yeah, I think Todd Archer reported up to 3 hours is what they can talk to Kellen Moore about tomorrow.
Okay.
But if I was the Eagles, I'd say talk to him after you're done.
Well, and this is a guy that, has been in the organization for years already. Yeah. So it's like, it's not like they need to, probably use all those 3 hours. Yeah. It's, Kellen Moore can probably walk in and, oh, hey, Jerry, Steven, nice to see y'all again.
That was Christmas.
It's right. Exactly.
The only other thing with Deion is there's a lot of talk about him wanting to coach Shedeur, him wanting to coach Shiloh. Adam Schefter went on Pat McAfee, I think, today and said, obviously, if he was to coach the Cowboys, that's not realistic. They're not going to trade Dak to Tennessee for the first pick in the draft. They're not going to trade him to Oakland for the 6th pick or Las Vegas, excuse me.
So how about this? Shedeur gets drafted, plays at Tennessee for 3 years or whatever.
4 years.
3-4 years. It doesn't work out with whoever they hire next. So Jerry goes, all right, whoever you are, next guy, you're out. hey, Deion, come over. We're going to make a play for Shador because guess what? Dak's at the end of his contract now. So
I see that, but that's more realistic.
maybe that's the plan he's talking about. I don't know.
Jerry's 86 years old, thinking about, or 82, thinking about when he's going to be 86.
Right.
Yeah, I don't
When he
think,
says we're thinking about just next year.
yeah, exactly. He's going to be all in on 86.
Yeah, we got a few comments. First of all, it's 64 degrees. We've gone up a degree.
All right.
Thank God.
All right. And it's probably just from you guys talking.
Maybe.
We're just so
Full of
hot.
hot air.
We're so hot in here.
Full of hot air.
That Hansel's so hot right
I
now.
think Deion would be able to handle Jerry and command as a true head coach, like a Jimmy Johnson. Then we got Robert Smith, who's always in here watching and listening. Coach Prime would be a perfect target for the Cowboys. Rafa says Primetime stays at Colorado. Jerry won't empower him as a coach and let him do his thing. And then one more comment from another one from Rafa. He says, had Jimmy stayed, Dallas would have won 5 titles in the 90s.
Maybe.
I mean, they at least would have won 3. The one that Barry won, I agree, but they still probably would have won.
Everybody says, well, that was Jimmy's team.
Yeah. I mean, it was Jimmy's players. I mean, we don't have to get into that. But Jimmy Johnson was the best coach, second best coach in franchise history. He probably would have been the best coach in franchise history had he been able to stay, and the
Keep it going.
personalities didn't clash like that.
Right.
That we'll never know, but I do look at Deion as very similar vein as Jimmy does when it comes to how they want things, how they structure things, the personalities that they are, very strong personalities. And I don't know. It's one of those things that I can't imagine happening right now.
Right. And I don't know. You went out to Colorado practice. You got to see a little bit. Granted, we don't get to see much whenever they open up practice, but from what we saw, the video that we have, of Deion interacting with his son Shador and all the other helpers around practice, he's not doing much coaching. It's just he's standing around watching and, which, okay, yeah, in the NFL, the head coach has to be a CEO, and maybe Deion can do that. But as far as, game planning, okay, what can he actually do in that sense?
Yeah, I'm not a huge believer in I mean, this is just me being a skeptic. I've never been a huge believer in Deion as a head coach. He's a great leader of men.
Yeah.
He is a fantastic rah kind of dude. X's and O's, he probably, lets Pat Shurmur over there at Colorado.
Sure.
Let's, the Warren Sapps of the world, lets his coordinators take the reins on that. And he was really there because he wanted to coach his sons anyway. His sons are now gone. We'll see how he does with another cast of characters that isn't named Sanders.
Right.
So we'll see how that goes if he stays there. But along the lines of the more realistic candidates, we talked about Kellen Moore. Robert Saleh, former Jets head coach, is interviewing on Saturday. Leslie Frazier interviewing on Monday. A lot of speculation that that's just to satisfy the Rooney Rule, which it could be. Leslie Frazier isn't talked a lot about. Leslie Frazier, former Vikings head coach, I believe, former Bills and Seahawks defensive coordinator. There's also some talk of Jason Witten, who people are comparing to a Dan Campbell. I don't know if that's anything besides their big white tight ends. Besides that, but Jason Witten is a coach of a 6A TAP school right now, or a TAP school up in Dallas right now who just won a state championship. So good for him. But I don't see either of those things happening. Mike Zimmer also being rumored as a possible candidate to replace Mike McCarthy. I don't see that happening. Among all of those candidates, Kellen Moore seems like the most realistic.
Yeah, I would think so. I don't know, and maybe Robert Saleh, and maybe that's just because I watched New York Jets Hard Knocks, a season ago, and it's like Hard Knocks. They always make you kind of buy into those teams because you're like, hey, maybe I'll root for them a little bit, but they always do such a good job. Yeah, I would say maybe Kellen Moore is kind of the leader right now. It's like everything's on the table at this point.
Yeah,
because of course the dream choices are the 2 coordinators in Detroit. But the way they're looking right now, it's just like they'll probably be making a run at the Super Bowl. So when are you really going to get a chance to talk to them?
Well, and that was the dumb thing about them waiting a week to let Mike McCarthy go. That you never got to talk to Ben Johnson and Aaron.
Right.
You never got to talk to Steve Spagnuolo or Matt Nagy if you wanted to interview those guys with the Chiefs. Like that was the huge thing there, making the decision when they did.
Yeah.
Kellen Moore just seems like the fit. He seems like, but the problem with Kellen Moore is he seems like Jason Garrett 2.0. It's the hot shot. offensive coordinator, used to play has known the Joneses for a long, long period of time, used to play for the Joneses, used to coach with the Joneses.
Right.
And now he's coming back to be this coordinator, or to be this hotshot head coach, offensive guru, to try and revive Dak Prescott's career, Jason Garrett reviving Tony Romo's career. Is it going to be the same thing we just saw for 10 years before Mike McCarthy got here once again in Dallas?
It could. Of course, if they do go the Moore route, they're going to need, maybe they bring Mike Zimmer back for a year to kind of hold down the defense. I know Zimmer was kind of remorseful of, not just doing things his way from the get-go. He wanted to blend Quinn's scheme and his a little bit to try and make things a smooth transition, but maybe that's the route they go. Who knows? I mean, it's going to be an interesting offseason, to say the least. I know that's what Micah Parsons was saying a little bit. It's like, dude, that's an understatement. But it's going to be an interesting search. And, until, August comes around, when we're out there in Oxnard again, I'm curious to see who it's going to be, and, how the whole camp runs and everything, and just what kind of, response they get from the team.
Speaking of Micah, let's hear that 43 seconds or so of audio from his Micah Parsons The Edge podcast.
It's very, very interesting, man. Obviously very sad, because the relationships, we had with Coach McCarthy and everything he's done for our program, 3 straight 12-5 seasons, playoff appearances, and obviously an unfortunate year due to injuries and things like that. But it is devastating. Coach Mike's a great father, coach, one of the most winningest coaches. And, he's always been good to us as a unit, us to coaches, players. So, losing a great coach like Mike hurts, but it's going to be very interesting off seasons. It's going to be very interesting, due to the free agents, the coaching. It's like, it's going to be a complete reset.
So if you guys didn't get that, it's going to be really interesting. Taking Mike McCarthy first, I ended it there because I think it's interesting that he said it's going to be a complete reset. Interesting being the optimal word here. Talking about his comments on Mike first. Obviously, I think we all agree Mike's a cool dude. He seemed like a cool dude to all the interactions I've ever had with him. Probably the same ones for you. Always really nice to the media. Always really cool to kind of get information from, and gives you a little bit of intel about how things were. And I think my view of it, in the 2 times that I was in the locker room, like one after the Bucks game and after the season finale, they all loved McCarthy. They loved their coaching staff. So obviously that's the first time we've heard from any of them since the finale, and since the news came down that Mike was gone.
Yeah. It was obvious the bonds that were formed in that locker room, and McCarthy talked about it all the time. The culture, he would always say that the culture that we have in our locker room is really great, and I think that's something that he hung his hat on. Sure, you had 3 12-5, 12-win seasons and stuff, but he was brought in to get them past the first round of the playoffs, and except that one time where they retired Tom Brady. It's just like, guess what? You ran into the brick wall that is the San Francisco 49ers, or was the 49ers, and then you got embarrassed at home by the Packers. So, it, as far as interesting and it being a reset, I mean, yeah, sure, I guess, because, you don't know what this, new head coach is going to bring in, and, what everybody's going to plan out, how are people going to be deployed and everything. And really, the only thing that for sure is you have Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, but aside from that, who else is going to be on the roster?
Well, yeah, to illustrate that point, 22 free agents. Basically, the entire coaching staff is now their contracts have expired.
A lot of them will probably follow McCarthy.
Yeah, most of them, if not all of them, will follow McCarthy. Schottenheimer's McCarthy's guy. You never know how Schottenheimer might want to go call plays somewhere else.
Sure.
But who knows? You're probably going to have a complete reset of the coaching staff, a complete reset of those 22 free agents. Who knows how many they're going to bring back after they lost so many last year.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have DeMarvion Overshown that people are questioning. Is he going to play this year? Sam Williams, when is he going to come back? I don't know who's going to be on this team next year, or coaching this team.
Right. Gosh, as far as free agents, it's like
Odigizua, Rico Dowdle,
a lot of
Jordan Lewis, key contributors.
Yeah, Jordan Lewis would be the big one to bring back for me. Just he's kind of that I hate to say it, but a glue guy on the defense,
But even for him, you can't even afford him right now because Trayvon Diggs, you're already paying $20 million to. And are you going to sign Jordan Lewis? Or are you going to sign Deron Bland? You can't have three.
Right. Yeah. And those are the decisions that you end up making, I guess, but as always, the NFL is a bottom line league. So they're going to find somebody, and there's plenty of guys who are going to play ball.
Right. It's just along those complete reset words of Micah Parsons, it does seem like it is. Besides the Dak of it all and the CD of it all and the Micah of it all, which I find it hard to believe that they're not going to re-sign him.
Right.
He'll probably have a contract, hopefully, please, before we get into training camp, so we don't have to have that storyline.
That's not how it's going to work. Come on.
Yeah, as soon as they kick the ball off in the first week of the season, about 10 minutes before kickoff.
So it's funny. I mean, I know we played that clip from his podcast, but this is a guy who talk about a company man. He went on to say, it's just like, I believe in our owner. I believe in our general manager. I mean, talk about a guy who knows, hey, I'm up for a contract here. Let me schmooze the ownership a little bit.
I think he got burned when he's halfway through the season started talking crap about his head coach, and things might have been taken out of context.
Oh wait, I want to stay in Dallas.
Yeah, exactly. Last thing about McCarthy, he interviewed, just to wrap this up, put a bow on it. McCarthy interviewed with the Bears this week. He's expected to talk to the Saints next week. Both of which I think are good fits. Caleb Williams, for some reason, talked about what he sees as good characteristics in a head coach on the Amon-Ra Equinemius St. Brown podcast. Two great names, by the way, Amon-Ra, Equinemius. Strong-minded, offensive style, someone to grow with for 15 to 20 years, good time management, good with the clock, controlling the game, good evaluator of talent. Not all of them are Mike McCarthy. I don't think Mike McCarthy is going to be anywhere for 15 to 20 years. So he's also not great with the clock. So I don't know why you'd have your starting quarterback go off and say characteristics of the next head coach that he's looking for. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I think Mac would be a good fit with the Bears regardless.
Yeah, I think so too. And just, he's familiar with that division, obviously. And I think it's a good fit for him. Of course, Bears and Packers and stuff. There might be some people not wanting to get used to that right away, but hey, you turn it into a winner, and I think people forget that real quick. Plus, also, it's like Caleb Williams on a rookie contract. It's just like McCarthy's thinking, gosh, and we have cap space too.
Right.
Geez, I can get this guy, and we can build something around this and actually make it into a competitive team.
Plus, if you're a Bears fan, you have to look at Mike McCarthy, and all he does is win wherever he goes.
Yeah.
He might not win every Super Bowl every year, and he might not even win a playoff game every year, but he's going to get you to a positive record and probably 11-5, or 11-6
around double-digit wins.
Around double-digit wins. He's going to be consistent. He's going to bring in the culture. If you're not good enough, if you're not happy enough with that, then I don't know what to tell you.
I heard this on the Dan Patrick podcast. We were talking about 10-win seasons, but it's like, name all the guys who have X amount of 10-win seasons or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like Don Shula, Bill Belichick, like all of these Hall of Fame coaches, and Mike McCarthy's on there too. So it's like, why wouldn't you want that guy?
Yeah, I mean,
running a team.
I saw something this week. It was like Mike McCarthy needs a better publicist or something like that because
he's got a good agent. He's got a good agent now.
Well, him and Mike Tomlin's stats and records are almost identical. So, I mean, we all laud Mike Tomlin for never having a losing season and being fantastic. So Matt could be the guy up in Chicago. Let's get to the Spurs real quick before we get out of here. So the Spurs lost last night, 129-115, after they led by 12 at halftime. Kind of a story of two halves, which seems to be the story of the season, story of last season for the Spurs. It seems like we talk about the same thing every single time we talk about the Spurs. Great for 24 minutes, 36 minutes, but cannot put an entire 48 together. Mitch Johnson said as much last night after the game. Once again, out physicaled by a Zach Edey, by a Jaren Jackson for the Memphis Grizzlies. And I just don't understand how they get something like this fixed, because it's every single game for the last 39 games and last season, we can't put a full 48 together.
Yeah, it's kind of like what Coach Pop used to say over the past, it was like 2 years ago and maybe a little bit of last season. It's just like, well, we forget that it's a 48-minute game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a bad start to a third quarter, and they admitted that right after the game. So I just, it's consistency for me. They're not they're not doing anything consistently, and I think
Consistently blowing leads.
right. Well, they're doing that maybe, but um, it was maybe about 10 games or so. So maybe back before Christmas or a little around that time. I know Chris Paul was just like, look, we just got to do this to where it's like we got to learn how to win these types of games.
I think it was after the Knicks game on Christmas.
Right. So it's just, it's the same thing again, where it's just like they're right there. They just don't know how to like close the deal yet. So once they learn how to do that, man, look out. This team will be really good. There's maybe just one or two things that is missing from this team, pieces, and everybody can debate what those are. And I think last night too, Wemby had a double-double, but it was only 13 and 12,
Well, he was 4 of 16 from the floor. I think he was 2 of 10 from 3. I mean,
so bad shooting
offensively, he did not play well. He played 37 minutes yesterday, which I didn't really register until I looked at the box score. Charles Bassey played 11 minutes. Zach Collins didn't touch the floor. It seems to me that they need – remember the Last Dance documentary where Dennis Rodman came in? Or no, it was Charles Oakley was like, you know what? They mess with my guy. I'm going to mess with them. Yeah, they have the enforcer. Right. That's what it kind of seems like this team is missing. A center, a Jonas Valanciunas, just a Yusuf Nurkic, one of those guys that'll come in and be like, don't F with him, F with me.
Right. So Chris Paul picked up a foul like on an inbounds play last night. I think it was this first half or whatever. Mm-hmm. Whistled for a foul real quick, and ball went back to Memphis and stuff. But then he went down the floor the next drive and picked up a defensive foul by driving into somebody. He brings that chippiness, but nobody else is following him with that. I would like to see somebody else like, hey, I can be a thorn in that side. Jeremy Sohan does that, I think, a little bit.
I think they missed that when he's not on the floor.
But they need I want other guys to play with that kind of edge too.
And if we're talking about the deadline, which is, I believe, is 3 weeks from now, February 2nd, if I'm getting that right, I think they need that. I think they need somebody who can come in and pick up a hard foul on somebody and just be like, you know what, we're not getting out physical, because Zach Edey, Jaren Jackson just push Wemby around.
Right.
As much as Wemby doesn't want to be pushed around, as much as weight as he has put on this offseason, he's still not that enforcing type. That's why he is shooting fall away 20-foot jump shots in the mid-range. That's why he's taking 30-footers from the outside. He can make them. They're not his best shot, but he's getting pushed out that far.
Right.
So, Bob?
What I saw last night was a team that the basketball IQ on the defensive side just wasn't there. You could see when the Grizzlies actually started running their crisply running their offense, the Spurs had no answer for it. They kept getting brushed off on screens, and they couldn't match up, and you saw all kinds of open dunks on cuts to the basket and stuff. It was like the Grizzlies went to another level, and the Spurs just don't have that gear yet.
It's almost like the Spurs have like ADD. Like they lose interest or they lose focus for 12 minutes a game. You don't know when that 12 minutes is going to happen, but there's this first 6 minutes of the third quarter last night and the last 6 minutes of the fourth quarter last night where it's just like, what are we doing?
Right. Yeah.
It seems like that happens game by game, and it stinks because this is a team that I think all of us think can win more. You're up by 12 last night at halftime on the Grizzlies, which is a really good young team. I think they're second in the West right now. Mm-hmm. And you should be able to at least compete down the stretch. But when I think it wasn't it like 113, 111, 115, 111, and then the Grizzlies go on a 12-2 run or whatever it was, and game's over.
Yeah. And Bob, to your point, it's like the players talked about that and touched on that too, is, Memphis is a team that likes to get out and run and get in transition. They put up a bunch of shots. I think it was
103 shots
right,
last night,
which was 14 more than the Spurs put up or whatever. And that may not seem like much, but I guess over the course of a season, it equates into, so many extra possessions and everything. It just happens to where it's just, it's not there. Those good stretches, they have plenty of them, but then it's those bad stretches that are just crucial to where it's just like that. Those can't happen.
Yeah, there's two guys on the floor last night that I would love for the Spurs to trade for. Luke Kennard is someone that the Spurs need. A guy like Luke Kennard who can just sit outside and pop threes
all of his points came from behind the arc.
Yeah, 5 of 9 from 3 last night. I mean, you need somebody like that, and the Spurs don't have anyone like that. And then a guy like Zach Edey. Obviously, you're not going to get Zach Edey, but a Jonas Valanciunas, a Yusuf Nurkic, somebody who can enforce.
Right. And we were talking about Sohan. I know he's hurt right now, but with him coming back into the rotation at some point, again, it's just they have so many guys in that 2, 3, 4 range to where it's just they're log jammed there. So it's just like, yeah, I know they're trying to figure out a rotation, but it's hard to when you have so many guys.
Hey, Matt, Texas Taurus agrees with you. He said they should have drafted Edie with the 8th pick.
I don't disagree. I mean, I think they could have used the 8th pick. Obviously, you use it on Rob Dillingham, trade him, but I think they could have used the 8th pick to get someone like that. And you're still stockpiling assets that are just sitting there waiting for a move to be made. You know, we're going to be talking about
sit and wait. I guess
sit and wait.
We'll see where the chips fall.
3 weeks until the trade deadline. Not on the rundown. So I was sitting there at my desk and I was like, oh, Bob Uecker died. Mr. Baseball, longtime voice of the Milwaukee Brewers. And all over my timeline, all over my feed today was Major League and his calls for Major League. So I wanted to pay a little tribute to Bob Uecker as we exit and end this podcast into the life that was, dead at 90 today, with a little bit of Major League.
Quick move to first. He got him. Hayes is picked off. Personally, I think we got hosed on that call. Rookie sensation, Ricky Vaughn on the pitch now. You can close the book on Kellner. Thank God. Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner in this. Post-game show is brought to you by Christ, I can't find it. The hell with it. That's all we got. One goddamn hit.
You can't say goddamn on the air.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway. But I'll tell you, these Cleveland fans are great. Listen to them get behind Vaughn. Hey, way to go, Rick. Oliver Ohio loves you. Come on, baby. Come on, Ricky. Come on, Ricky. This is Harry Doyle welcoming you to another edition of TP Talk. Hey, in case you haven't noticed, and judging by the attendance, you haven't, the Indians have managed to win a few here and there and are threatening to climb out of the cellar. Up Haywood, who leads the league in most offensive categories, including nose hair. When this guy sneezes, he looks like a party favor. Haywood's a convicted felon, isn't he, Monty?
Doesn't really say it here.
Well, he should be. Haywood swings and crushes one towards South America. Tomlinson's going to need a visa to catch this one. It is out of here, and there's nothing left but a vapor trail.
So good.
It's so good.
So good.
Anyway, I just thought we'd end on a fun note, just a bit outside.
Well, and he's also Hall of Famer, Frick Award winner, and everything.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best broadcasters of all time.
Legendary broadcast career. Best part, I mean, self-deprecating, but one of the best all time. He, at his Hall of Fame induction ceremony, he's like, I still feel like I could have gotten into the Hall as a player. This guy hit like, I think around 200 or low or something like that. He also said, he's like, yeah, the Brewers, you know, I was with the Brewers twice. They got traded or some of the first time. They brought me back because they couldn't believe how bad I was the first time. Bob Uecker, there's never another one like him.
Chuck texted me a little earlier. He's like, damn, I'm really mad I'm not going to be there today. I have a great Bob Uecker story. I was like, yeah, save it for Thursday.
Save it for next time.
Save it for next week. So
get better. Get well soon, Chuck.
Yeah, there's your tease. Got a good Bob Uecker story coming from Chuck Migatinick next Thursday. But anyway, rest in peace to a legend, one of the legends of baseball. I know we're getting into baseball season. Can't wait for baseball season to actually get here. But
month away from pitchers and catchers reporting.
But sad that Bob Uecker will not be on the call anymore. Anything else from you, Bob? You all good?
We are good. Hey, Texas Taurus just wanted to say, glad I caught the live. Thanks for being on.
Hey, thanks for listening. We love to have interaction from everybody. So thank you for tuning in. We will not be here Monday. Just reiterate, we will not be here Monday. It's Martin Luther King Day. It's Inauguration Day. There's a bunch of other stuff going on that day.
National championship
going on Monday. Plus, I don't think anyone's going to be healthy enough to be sitting in these chairs on Monday. So
we will still be down with the sickness.
Exactly. So we will be back on Thursday with another edition of the Sneakers Cleats podcast. It'll be episode 165. It'll probably be Chuck and I, probably. Maybe Don, maybe Zach. Bob will probably be here.
Probably.
All right. Javier will still be here. All right, guys. That's all we got for you. We'll see you back here on Thursday on the Sneakers Cleats podcast.